What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video on the Texas Rangers Report. And in this live stream, we're going to be going over the realistic expectations for the Texas Rangers in the 2022 season. So, obviously, we have signed a bunch of free agents this year. They started off with Marcus Semien, and then we signed Cole Calhoun, not a big free agent, but could contribute this year. And then later that night, we signed John Gray, and then we signed another big guy, Corey Seager. So a lot of fans are super hyped about the 2022 season. Rightfully so. We'll obviously be a better team. And I don't think we're done there because I still think the Rangers want to get another starting pitcher and another outfielder. But what are the realistic expectations for the Texas Rangers? So just starting off with the record, I think if we sign another outfielder, like say a Suzuki or Kyle Schwarber, and then we sign another legit starting pitcher like a Carlos Rendon or Clayton Kershaw, I think we have a legitimate chance to make the wild card. We have a bunch of ground that we'd have to make up because I think we're about 30 games under 500 this year. And to be a wild card team, you need to be a few games over 500 depending on the year. But I think that's legitimate a legitimate chance. And if you look at our division, obviously the Oakland Athletics are not really trying to compete this year. The Houston Astros are still the team to beat. The Mariners are going to be competitive. And then the Los Angeles Angels are going to be competitive. So you still have to beat out those teams. And if we're being realistic, you probably need to be the second team in the division if you want to go and make it as a wild card, because most likely you won't have three teams in the same division, especially the AL West, go to the wild card. I'm not saying it won't be done, but I don't think a bunch of fringe playoff teams will make it. I think there's a lot of better teams, especially the division that the Yankees are in, because the Yankees are probably going to be good. The Red Sox will probably be good, and the Tampa Bay Rays will probably be good. So I think getting around 80 wins is definitely realistic if we were to sign, say, a Suzuki, Clayton Kershaw, or if it was Cal Schwarber or Carlos Rendon. I definitely think 80 wins is definitely possible. Um, Obviously, there will be injuries. Some people won't perform as well, and then you will have guys that will perform well. Um, I just don't want to get the expectations blown out of proportion. So for me, let's see, 162 games. Let me pull up a calculator. If we want to make the playoffs, we'd obviously need to have a winning record. So 162 divided by 2, 81. So let's just say the Rangers go 83, 83 wins, 79 losses. I think that's definitely doable. And now, if we're talking about expectations for the players, okay? So we signed Corey Seager and Marcus Semien to be our all stars. I do expect them to play like all stars. It's kind of like those people in fantasy football. You set them and you forget about them. Okay, so unless they're injured, I wouldn't really worry about those people too much. So let's go over to Nate Lowe. He had a pretty solid season in his first true big league campaign. Um, but what can we expect this season? I do expect them to take a step forward, especially under the new hitting coach Tim Hires and Donnie Eckert. I think that he can. I think those guys can unlock new potential in um, in Nate Lowe. And I feel like he has that type of ceiling to where he wouldn't really be, what's the word? I feel like he has that type of ceiling to where he's not really going to have a bust of a year. Let me just check 1 second. I want to make sure this live stream is actually live and where people can see it. This is weird. Hold up. I need to check something out. Let me go over here. Although, sorry for the delay. I'm checking out if people can actually see the live stream right now. But on another note, the Dallas Cowboys won today, 29-6 over the New York Giants. Although I think the Cowboys could have at least scored 40 points. The defense is elite, for being honest. This is the best I've ever seen the defense play. What is up with the offense? It's still not right. I was hoping whenever you'd play some lesser teams like the Giants, the Washington football team, you play Washington again next week. I was hoping you could get right. That hasn't been the case so far for the Cowboys. Although if the offense and the defense are clicking at the same time, they have a legit chance to be go far in the playoffs because they're obviously going to win the division and then make a deep Super Bowl run. The Cardinals lost today, which does help out the Cowboys. They lost to the Lions. I think the Packers almost lost, that would have really helped out the Cowboys, but I think there was a dumb 2-point conversion at the end of it. If we got to 400 subscribers on this video, that'd be awesome. I think last year, around this time, I only had 100 subscribers. So growing 300 subscribers in a year is pretty amazing. Like I said, I'm just checking out the live stream right now just to make sure people can see it. Oh, it's unlisted. That's the problem. That was the problem. There we go. People should start coming in now. What's up, guys? I accidentally had the live stream as unlisted instead of public. So that's why you couldn't see it for about 10 minutes. What's up, Dak Prescott? We got the win today. 21-6, I believe. And great for the Cowboys. Obviously, I think the division's basically locked up at this point. But the defense is elite. Let's be honest. We got D-Law, we got Randy Gregory, Micah Parsons, Trayvon Diggs. But something's just not right about the offense. We got a lot of weapons on that offense. I'm just gonna wait for a few more people to trickle in, because I had this live stream as unlisted. So we'll just wait for a few more people to come in. Yeah, that's funny. And then you probably saw this, but the Packers almost lost to the Ravens. And if you're a casual fan, you'll be like, "Oh, that makes sense because Lamar." But Lamar wasn't playing. It was some backup quarterback that looks like Lamar, but some 2-point conversion that I've been trying to look up. Yeah, and something's wrong with Arizona. After Kyler's injury, he hasn't been the same MVP candidate like he was. Same with Dak. It's a lot of quarterback play around the league this year hasn't been that fantastic, if we're being honest. I'll wait like another minute for a few more people to come in. Trying to look up the Ravens 2-point conversion. I was just looking at the 2 point conversion attempt. The Ravens versus the Packers, and I think they did the same thing last week against the Steelers, and I think they lost too. It's funny. All right, well, let me get this thing kicked off again. So, realistic expectations for the Texas Rangers in the 2022 season. So, realistic expectations. We've signed a bunch of all stars this year: Marcus Simeon, Corey Seager, John Gray, Cole Calhoun, and um, I think fans' expectations are going to be high, rightfully so. Um, the team is definitely going to be better going into next season, but should we not get overhyped? I think we should. I think if we get another outfielder and say Suzuki, Kyle Schwarber, and if we sign a legit starting pitcher like Clayton Kershaw or Carlos Rendon, I think we have a legit chance for the second wild card. Okay, so I think the Rangers will have to be a few games over 500. Obviously, depending on the year, it could be a different number, but let's just say the Rangers get 84 wins. I definitely think that's doable. Um, and who knows? If you add Matt Olson, Luis Castillo, that can make that number go up at least 5 wins, 6 wins. So that could put you at close to 90 wins. If you think you're at 84, 83 with who you have plus another legit starter and another legit outfielder, and if you get Castillo and Olson, that could put you close to 90. I'll be honest, probably around 88, 87. But we would most likely need to be the second best team in our division. We don't really need to worry about Oakland. We already know that they're trying to tank this year because their best players are getting close to free agency. So they're just a small market team and they can't pay their players, so they're going to be looking to trade them for prospects. So they're probably going to be the worst team in the division. Houston Astros, they'll probably be the best team in the division still. They're getting older. They're still losing players, but they'll be the best team in my opinion. And then I do think it's a toss-up for the second best team in the division. The Angels have a lot of stars on their team. They really never put it together. Obviously, Mike Trout's been hurt. Ohtani is a star. Rendon, he gets hurt too. They have a lot of good bats, but their starting pitching has been garbage. Obviously, they went out and signed Noah Syndergaard. We'll see how that goes. And then the Mariners, they're kind of in the same situation as the Rangers, a young team looking to add in free agency. So I do think it's going to be a toss-up for the second best team in the division. If the Rangers stay pat with with their current roster, I think we'll probably be the fourth best team or the second worst team in the division. Because I do think a lot of the clubs and the GMs think it's an open race. So most likely, if we're the second best team in the division, we'd probably be the second wild card. So that's my expectations. And then if you can build on this. So like I said, the Rangers will have 19.5 million cleared up from Odor's contract and Elvis's contract going into the 2023 offseason. So you could go after a mid-tier player like a Brandon Nimmo, or you could go all in on a starter. Noah Syndergaard will be a free agent next year without a qualifying offer because he just had that this year from the Mets, and then the Angels signed him. So you could go all in on him. Some things you could think about. But I think the key is don't trade away the farm system because you need to have insurance policies just in case these free agents don't pan out. If you look at the Padres, They went all in on Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, Joe Musgrove, Mike Clevenger, and they deplete their farm system. And then Adam Frazier, he's not even on their squad anymore. They trade him to the Mariners for some garbage prospects. And they traded most of their farm system away, and that was really depleted. So I think you have to spend in free agency to go from like a 60-win team to an 80-win team to a 90-win team, but keep the a good amount of the farm system, because that's how you get quality players to the big leagues and for a cheap amount. So if you can't like always spend in free agency after the big guys, you can be like, oh, I have a guy that I can keep for 6 years for a cheap contract. So I kind of talked about the expectations for the team in 2022. What about players? So I do think Marcus Simeon and Corey Seager, those are like your fantasy players where you set them and forget them. Unless there's injuries, of course, then I think they'll be fine. But if we go to Cole Calhoun, I know he I know a lot of people think he'll be a starter, but I really don't think that. I think the Rangers view him as a platoon player. So you could play him in right field majority of the time because he's a left-handed hitter. You can play him against right-handed pitchers. But if you look at his stats on Fangraphs, he has struggled his entire career versus left-handed pitching. So you could platoon him with a guy like Nick Solak, Andy Ibanez, or Eli White. Both of those guys are right-handed hitters. Um, all three could play the outfield. I know we moved away from that with Nick Solak, and I don't think we've ever tried that with Andy Ibanez, but theoretically they could, or you could move somebody to the DH spot. But I really don't expect Cole Calhoun to be like, oh man, my neck. I don't expect Cole Calhoun to be super, super great. I expect him to be kind of around what Charlie Culberson did for the Rangers last year, but a little bit better because I think he'll play more games than Charlie Culberson. But it's kind of like that veteran signing that brings some stability and helps the clubhouse. And then, so that's right field. Let's go to center field. Adolis Garcia. I don't think he's a set it and forget it player. I think he's high risk, high reward. And we saw that last year. His first month in the MLB, he was raking. He was walking off. It seemed like he was walking off every single game for us. And he made it. He made the All-Star game, which is great for Adolis. But then, second half of the year, he really struggled. And his lack to get on base was significant. So I think he needs to figure that out. And we have to remember, Adolis is an older player. So, I mean, there is still room to grow, but it's not like a young prospect where it's like, okay, we can see him growing this much. I still believe in Adolis, but he needs to work. Obviously, the power's there. He's fast. He's strong, but I think those strikeout numbers and the on base numbers are a big concern. But if he can fix that, then I think he can be. I'm not gonna say starting center fielder, but definitely a starting outfielder for the Texas Rangers. And the reason I say that is because he had probably played in center field for this entire year, but since he is on the older side, maybe down the line you have to move him to left, move him to right. But if he fixes his on base issue, then we won't have to worry about Adolis. Moving to left field, obviously nobody's there, but I do envision that being filled by Kyle Schwarber or Seiya Suzuki. And if it's Kyle Schwarber, I think that's a really safe option. Obviously, he's not really good at defense, but he could be you can sign him. He could play DH, and you figure out the left field with some in-house options like a Willie Calhoun or something. Or you could go for Suzuki, who's probably he's I think he's another high risk, high reward type of player like Adolis, but he's probably better than any of the in-house candidates you have right now. So, what I'm trying to say here is that Kyle Schwarber would be a safe option, but say a Suzuki is a high risk, high reward player that probably come cheaper and he'll probably come cheaper, and he's probably better than any of the people that are already on the Rangers' current roster. Now moving to third base, this is interesting because we have Josh Young. I think he should start there for the Rangers. I don't think he has anything left to prove in the minor leagues, but we still have IKF on the roster. I made videos about trades for IKF. I know the Yankees are interested. I'm sure other teams are probably going to be interested after the lockout because he's a serviceable shortstop with 2 years of team control remaining. But it's not like third base and shortstop are IKF's only roles. Maybe he's a platoon player with Cole Calhoun. I do think IKF could play the outfield. I think he could play second base if needed. I'm going to say that Josh Young gets the third base job. And I know a lot of people have high hopes for him, but he's still going to be a rookie. I'm not going to say, just to lower my expectations, I'm not going to say he's going to set the world on fire, but I am going to say he's going to have a solid rookie season. And then for IKF, I'm just going to say this. Don't hold my word on it. I'm just going to say it just for the sake of the video. I'm going to say we don't trade him and he'll be a utility guy, because if I've learned anything from Chris Woodward, he likes his Dodger players. And then they showed interest in Chris Taylor in free agency. And IKF reminds me of he has traits that Chris Taylor has. He could play the outfield. He plays a good shortstop. He could play third. He could play second. Obviously, we only have him for 2 more years. However, if a good trade does come up, I think the Rangers might have to pull the trigger. And then over at first base, we have Nate Lowe. I think he's one of those players. I think he has a high enough floor to where he doesn't really have a bust season. So we don't really have to worry about him too much. But I think under the new hitting coaches, I think he could be a really good breakout candidate for the Texas Rangers. Although, watch out, because he could be used in a Matt Olson trade or a Luis Castillo trade. But I would not be surprised at all if Matt Olson broke out. And that was kind of me for the past few years with Willie Calhoun. But these injuries have just lowered my expectations for Willie Calhoun. What's up, Mike? I'm warming to the idea of keeping IKF rather than trade him. His presence can help keep Seager when healthy with days off. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to go through the pros and cons. Obviously, I'm going to pull up the Yankees' top prospects. But basically, like, if the Yankees have an offer that blows away the Rangers, then you should probably do it, because if you want a Chris Taylor type of guy, you do have Eli White, who could play all the infield. He's probably fast. He is faster than IKF. He can play all the outfield. So he could be your Chris Taylor, and you just platoon him, or you pinch run him, or have him be a sub. But I think IKF is really liked in the clubhouse. Obviously, injuries do occur, and Corey Seager does have a history of injuries, so you could just have him just in case. I don't think if we kept IKF, I don't think he would ride the bench. He could be the platoon with Cole Calhoun. We do have a DH spot open, so A lot of you guys have mentioned like maybe Josh Young DHs and IKF plays third base, which isn't terrible. Um, or you could have IKF be a starter in the outfield, and um, I don't know, but obviously I think if he were to stay, he would definitely be a starter, and he wouldn't ride the bench. Um, but let's just say the Yankees gave us like Clark Schmidt. Would the Rangers pull the trigger? Maybe, because Clark Schmidt could probably help out the Rangers right now. But it's a tough one. From Mike, I do like Eli White. Yeah, I mean he's a really good athlete. I think the biggest thing with him is that he's not a good hitter, and that's a big thing because if you can't hit consistently, it's hard to keep you in the lineup. But he is valuable on defense and on the base paths. He does remind me like he could fill that Chris Taylor type of role if we were to trade IKF. From Bryce Grissom, how about them cow? Yes, sir. So if you guys don't know, I'm a Cowboys fan. We beat the New York Giants 21-6, and either lock up the division this week or next week. The defense is elite right now, which is nice, but the offense, which we thought was going to be elite, has been struggling as of late. But if everything goes according to, if Dak gets back to being himself, the offense actually gets on the same page, start catching some balls, and Kellen Moore starts calling better plays, I think we'll be just fine. But going back to the Rangers, so I've gone over the entire outfield, the entire infield. I go into catchers. Um, I think the guy that we know the most about is Jose Trevino. He's going to he's going to suck at offense, but he's going to be a really good defensive catcher. He's going to help get pitchers through innings, and that's just who he is, and that's okay because being a really good defensive catcher is valuable in this league. He helps steal strikes. He makes his pitchers better. But the one that could break out is Jonah Heim. There was definitely flashes last year with Jonah Heim. And the thing is, if you guys don't know, we got him in the Elvis Andrews trade. Um, we got Chris Davis. We sent over Elvis. We sent them cash. We got Chris Davis, Jonah Heim, and Dane Ecker. The thing is with Jonah Heim, he's a tall switch hitting catcher, and those take a decent amount of time to develop. I do think he's getting to that time where it's like, okay, if you aren't developed now, you're probably just not good. But the thing is with him, he's still about the same level on the same level of defense as Jose Trevino. And um, he has the potential to be at least an average catcher with the bat, which is intriguing. And he definitely showed potential last year. And I keep on saying this, but if the new hitting coach Tim Hires and the new offensive coordinator Donnie Eckert can help just unlock something, that would be amazing. Because I think there is question marks with Sam Huff with his knees. He might be better suited as a first baseman. And there's just some guys, okay, I think we can unlock this much more in them. Jose Trevino, we know where he is. He's not really that type of guy. Like maybe you can bring him up just like a step, but I think Jonah Heim has a really decent amount of potential to be a catcher. So who do you think should start? I think all the other positions you think who's going to start. Not really third base. It's IKF or Josh Young. At least that's what it looks like right now. But who should be a starting catcher? Jonah Heim or Jose Trevino? I mean, defensively, they're pretty much on the same level if you look at the stats. And Jonah Heim has more potential, in my opinion. But maybe Jose Trevino just has a better reputation with the pitchers than Jonah Heim. But who do you think should be the starting catcher for the Texas Rangers in the 2022 season? All right, and now I want to go over some of the bench players on the Rangers before I go into the pitching side of things. Oh, today was the day that we signed Yu Darvish, it looks like. If you guys didn't know, Nomar Mazara signed with the San Diego Padres on a minor league deal. Even though the lockout is going on right now, teams can still sign players to minor league contracts because they aren't a part of the 40-man roster. Jaime and Trevino both being so good behind the plate makes it tough, but Jaime is younger with a higher ceiling. Yeah, I definitely agree. And it's not like it was in the past where if you had a starting catcher, they're going to start a majority of the games. Now, with all the data analytics, say Jaime is the starting catcher, there'll still be a good split between Jaime and Trevino. Okay, so going down, some of the people that could or will be on the bench this year, we have Yanni Hernandez, Andy Ibanez, Nick Solak, so that's 3. Willie Calhoun, Zach Rex, Eli White. Obviously, some of those guys will go to the minor leagues. Some of those guys, like Zach Rex, I don't know if he actually stays on the roster whenever the Rangers need more 40-man spots. But who stays, who goes to AAA? So I think, like I said, I think Cole Calhoun, we signed him to be a platoon player, but since he's a left-handed batter, and the majority of the pitchers are right-handed, he'll get most of the playing time. But who platoons with him? So Yanni Hernandez is a switch hitter, and Ibanez is a right-handed hitter. Nick Solak's right-handed. Eli White's right-handed, and then IKF is right-handed. So you have basically 5 options. And who I think with that, it comes down to how people play in spring training, but also who hits better off of left-handed pitchers. So yeah, if that makes sense. But also I'm trying to figure out who would be the DH for the Texas Rangers. Like there's Willie Calhoun, who could be an option, or we could go with the option of IKF at third and Josh Young at the DH, which actually isn't a bad option. But will any of these guys that are on the bench actually have an impact? Zach Rex, he could get designated for assignment. Eli White, he's an elite athlete. I don't think he'll start for the Rangers, but he's quick. He can play anywhere in the infield, anywhere in the outfield. He could be a nice piece to have on the bench. Willie Calhoun could be a DH for us, or a pinch hitter. I think all of these guys do have options, so if they do need to go to the minor leagues, then that's an option. Nick Solak and Andy Ibanez seem like really good options to platoon with Cole Calhoun because they hit really well off left-handed pitchers, although Nick Solak really struggled, so I would say that the option goes to Andy Ibanez, because obviously if you had IKF at third, Josh Young at third base, you'd still need that platoon guy. So maybe it does go to Andy Ibanez. With Yanni Hernandez, I don't really see him as a future major league guy. It's just he doesn't really have – he has good on-base skills, but I think at the major league level, when the quality of the pitches are so much better than the minor leagues, I think you have to have good bat-to-ball skills, and I don't think he really has that. So moving to the pitchers, obviously, let me pull up this depth chart for the Rangers. Obviously, right now, for the starting pitchers, it goes John Gray, Dane Dunning, Taylor Hearn, and then after that, it's really questionable. I guess you could say Colby Allard's in there. And then after that, I mean, you have John King, Spencer Howard, Glenn Otto, AJ Alexi. That's why you definitely need to go out and get some guys. So theoretically, let's just say we had Clayton Kershaw. So it goes Kershaw, Gray, and then we need another innings eater. So let's just say Danny Duffy. Okay, so Kershaw, Gray, Danny Duffy, and then Dane Dunning. Okay, that's not looking like too bad of a rotation. And then you can basically fill that fifth spot with whoever you really want. You could fill it with Colby Allard. John King showed promise last year, but he got injured whenever he moved to a starter. So maybe just move him back to the bullpen. Taylor Hearn showed promise, but he doesn't always throw strikes. Spencer Howard, he was a top prospect. He sucked last. I mean, he showed promise. So maybe he does something in spring training. He's like, okay, he earned this fifth spot. Glenn Otto, AJ Alexi, they all showed promise last year as well. So that's what I think we need to happen. So we need to sign Carlos Rodon or Clayton Kershaw to be the ace of the staff. But then you still need another innings eater, because if you don't do that, then you have to throw out inexperienced pitchers, and it just could hurt the development like it's done in the past. I'll get to your question really soon, but what should we expect from those guys? From Kershaw and from Gray, I think we need to expect um, not really like all-star stuff, but um, above average. So Kershaw above average if he can stay healthy, and then Gray, hopefully the pitcher, the Rangers pitching coach can work with him, and getting outside of Coors Field can help him, even though he's actually pitched better inside of Coors Field. But maybe it's just a mental game with him, so now he can actually prepare the same way, because at Coors Field he'd have to prepare two different ways. So I expect those guys to be above average. And then for a guy like Danny Duffy, or maybe it's you see Kikuchi or Carlos Martinez, I hope they could just provide stability, give us innings. That's all I really want. And then Dane Dunning, I would really want him to take a step forward. He was looking like he was pretty solid last year. He looked like he'd be a 4 or number 3 in the rotation. Although if he could take that next step this year, that would be great. And it's good because with the Rangers, so obviously they signed John Gray. If they were to sign 2 more starters, they wouldn't have to rush him to be that guy. And then so they wouldn't have to rush him to be that guy. And then he can learn from those veterans as well. And then from the 5th guy in the rotation, it could basically be whoever you want. I don't if it's Taylor Hearn, I would expect good starts, bad starts. If it's Colby Allard, I really hope he could take that next step, because I think he can be a really good player. But all these guys have super high potential. So I hope that they can prove it, but I'm not going to say, oh, they're going to be a star, because Glenn Otto, AJ Alexi, Spencer Howard, Taylor Hearn, like there's obviously the downside with them. So good stuff for a good amount of that would be great. From Mike, would they want Josh at DH though? Wouldn't they want him to be getting big league reps at third? That's another thing I've been thinking about. Like obviously, IKF would be the better glove at third base. He's won a Gold Glove, but if you look at the future, he's your future at third. Maybe like I don't know. I feel like the Rangers could figure it out. Like maybe Josh Young plays DH a few days of the week, IKF at third, and then maybe Jung or I think some other days Young plays third, and then you have you could have IKF play like second, and then Marcus Simeon DH, or have IKF play short and Seager DH. That's something I thought about. Like he could be that nice chess piece. So, if any of those guys needs a rest day, you can play him there, and then they DH. That could be something, but I'm still trying to figure out if you want Josh Young to be a regular third, how would you also incorporate IKF? But maybe he is just an outfielder for you. I'm not really sure right now, but it could just be a situational thing. The Yankees are apparently from Samuel Sandite. The Yankees are apparently trying to trade for Olson, and one of the ways they could do it by not giving up much is by taking Elvis Andrus' contract. Don't. The Rangers. I doubt the Rangers would do that. Taking on Elvis's contract. Well, Elvis's contract is what we're paying for right now. So if they were to take on Elvis's contract, would they start paying us? Does that make sense? Or maybe the Rangers aren't paying all of Elvis's contract. Let me look this up. Texas Rangers spa track. Also, let me know. Obviously, I'm interested in Carlos Rodon or Clayton Kershaw, but who is the innings eater that you guys are interested in? There's obviously UC Kikuchi, Carlos Martinez, Danny Duffy. Who are you guys interested in? But I'm curious. So I'm looking at the Rangers payroll, Oakland Athletics spot track, and that you said they'd take on the contract. It doesn't make too much sense because they're already close to the luxury tax. So I guess that would actually theoretically that would save them. It would still save them money than going after like Carlos Correa, because that'd be $30+ million a year. But then you just like take on Matt Olson's contract, which is only like $12 million this year, and then where's Elvis? Elvis is only getting 6, and okay, that's probably after the. Says Elvis is getting 6 3/4, but I think it's because the Rangers are paying part of it, not all of it. I was trying to say the Rangers wouldn't bring back Elvis, even if they're not giving much for Olson. Oh. Well, if you think about it, the Yankees don't actually have to take on Elvis in a trade. They could just say, here's the money to cover Elvis's contract. They could do that, but they also need a shortstop. And let's look at how Elvis Andrus did last year. But I do agree with you. We're not taking on Elvis. I mean, if he were to ride the bench, I just don't see it. But let's see how Elvis did last year. I know with the bat he sucked, but could he be a serviceable shortstop until Anthony Volpe and Oswald Peraza are ready? Because both of those guys, it says their ETA is 2023, so about a year away. So Elvis Andrus, I'm looking at Fangraphs. He's only 32 years old. His batting average is 243. On base was 294. That's terrible. Slugging 320. Although his defensive WAR was solid, he had a 6 defensive WAR. His offensive WAR was negative 13.8. But his entire WAR was 1.1. He's regressed significantly. It's really bad. From Mike Osman. I like Danny or trade for Sonny Gray. But I would love if the Rangers pull off a trade for someone that would be good enough to bump John Gray down a spot. Oh, okay, I know what you mean. So, really good for the Rangers because that's probably what he really is. He could be a number 2. He's not an ace. Let's get that clear. He's not an ace. He could be that type of Mike Minor, Lance Lynn. He could have that type of season. But in order to move him down to number 3, 2 things could happen. I'm not counting out I think the Rangers could sign Clayton Kershaw and Carlos Rendon. I'm not counting that out. Do I think there's a good chance of it? No, but I'm not going to count it out. And then I think your ace would be Kershaw, just because he has the pedigree, and then Rodon, John Gray, Dane Dunning, and then let's just say Taylor Hearn because he played pretty well. But you could say Glenn Otto does well, Spencer Howard. You know where I'm going with this. And then next year, that makes things interesting because you wouldn't have to rush Jack Leiter. You wouldn't have to rush Cole Winn. If they're ready, go ahead, but you wouldn't have to rush him. The second thing would be trading for Luis Castillo, Sonny Gray, or Tyler Mahle. That would most likely bump John Gray down to the 3 hole. And that's the same situation. You wouldn't have to rush Jack Leiter, Cole Winn, and even the lesser prospects. You wouldn't have to rush them. But if you sign like a Danny Duffy, that's most likely a 1-year deal, and then you'll still need rotation help next year. So going back to Elvis, he didn't do too well last year. Spot track is acting up, so can't really see anything. But I'm guessing the Rangers didn't take on the entirety of his contract, but I know we are still paying for it. I know that's a fact. But going back to what you said, Samuel, the Ranger, or if the Yankees were to take on his contract, they don't necessarily have to take on Elvis in the trade. They could just be like, here's money to cover his contract. But if it says that Elvis is only making like $6 million with the Athletics, granted, the Rangers are probably covering most of it, then that could make sense because $12 million, I'm just estimating $12 million for Olsen, and then $6 million for Elvis. That's $18 million, and that is a lot cheaper than going 30 plus for Carlos Correa. And you could have Elvis play short, but would he really be the best option? I mean, defensively, he could probably still provide quality defense, but is that enough for the New York Yankees? I'm not sure. If you guys haven't already, there is a Discord for this channel. It's in the description down below. Make sure to join the Discord, and we can talk Rangers 24/7. Like the other day, no more with Mazara, I'm with the Padres. And I mentioned that in the Discord. So just little stuff like that. Yeah. But yeah, so I think obviously I was going over the expectations for the Rangers. I think if we sign another outfielder like Suzuki or Schwarber, and we go after Kershaw or Rendon, I think 84 wins is definitely doable. And I think the second wildcard spot is definitely doable. Although if we go for, let's say we still get those guys, and then we go after Chapman, I keep on calling him Chapman. We go after Olsen or Castillo, then I do think that adds at least 6 more wins to your team. So I think you could definitely get 88 wins, 87 wins. And and then that's kind of pushing for the number one seed. And then next year, it's like, how can we improve on that? I think the biggest thing is not trading. You can definitely trade some prospects because you'll need to do that to get a Chapman. Shoot, you need to get Olsen or Castillo, or if it's Sonny Gray, okay. But okay, Mike, I'll look at that. But actually, I could probably just put the Discord link in this comment section. But I think the way you improve and increase your wins is keeping a good amount of the farm system, because let's just say Corey Seager's a bad signing, okay? If you keep a good amount of your prospects, you have those prospects to replace the guys at the major league level. Look at the Padres did. They went out and signed a whole bunch of free agents, and then they traded for Darvish, Clevenger, Snell, and Musgrove. And look at their farm system. It's depleted. They also trade for Adam Frazier, and then they just trade him to the Mariners for a lot less than what they traded for to get him from the Pirates. So I think if you keep those prospects, that can help, but also continue to look for good free agents. On the last live stream, I was talking about Brandon Nimmo. I think he could be a really underrated free agent next year. I just think you have to be smart with your money and continue to develop your farm system, because that's the best way to have good players for a long time for cheap. The last thing we need. So from 95 wins, I really don't think that's doable. And yeah, the last thing we need is San Diego, because let's just say, because right now San Diego, they signed Eric Hosmer. They are trying their best to get rid of Eric Hosmer, and they're willing to trade Robert Hassel or CJ Abrams. That's really enticing. But think about it from the other end. If we signed the bad player to a long-term deal, and then we had to give up, like, let's just say we had like CJ Abrams. We had to give that guy just to get rid of the bad. That is not good. And then CJ Abrams and Robert Hassel are some of their best prospects, and after that, it gets super, super depleted. Right now, I'm gonna put the Discord invite link in the description. Oh yeah, I forgot about Campusano. He's another one. Yeah. Yeah, their farm system was really, really good. They had high-end guys. So they still have Mackenzie Gore, Campusano, Robert Hassel, CJ Abrams. And then, of course, some guys have gone to the major leagues, like Ryan Weathers. But if you just look at all the prospects they've traded away, it's been drastic. I've even forgot about this trade with the Mariners for Austin Nola. That sounds about right. But I'm okay with, if we had to trade Justin Foscue for Matt Olson or Castillo, I'm okay with that, because those guys are all-stars right now. Justin Foscue, he could probably be an all-star. We aren't too sure about that. But we still have other prospects to replace Foscue. We have Josh Smith, Ezekiel Duran. Let me just look at Davis Wenzel, Sherman Apostle. But then let's just say the Rangers get a little too trigger happy, and we go for Olsen, Castillo, and let's just say like Josh Hader. That doesn't even make sense. That could really deplete our farm system right now. I don't know how they trade Hosmer. Well, the way that they would trade Hosmer would be to a bad team that can take on that contract. So like the Orioles, the Pirates, I don't think the Rangers. For a little bit, I'm like the Rangers could do it, but not anymore with the people that they're trying to target. And they have to throw in one of their top prospects. I know that they're also trying to trade Will Myers. That actually might be intriguing because he's has a 1 year deal. I think it's like 20 million. So you can get him, and you'll get a lesser prospect, but you're only on the hook for 1 year. And I think he could actually provide value. Like I think he could provide a little bit more value than Cole Calhoun. Obviously Will Myers is way overpaid, but they're still trying to get rid of Will Myers. So the Padres are in a really weird situation right now. And they just gave a bunch of money to a new manager in Bob Melvin. I'm trying to get this Discord link out. From Samuel, thoughts on Odor joining the Orioles? That 2-5 of Adley, Rutschman, Mullins, Mountcastle, Odor, and Mancini is legit. Well, I don't think Odor is really that good. But Adley Rutschman, yes. Mullins, yes. Mountcastle, not too really. He doesn't really get on base. Odor, no. And Mancini, he's all right. But I mean, there's definitely guys in that lineup, but I don't think it's that good. All right, let's see if this Discord link works, guys. Oh, all right. Tell me if that Discord link works. The way they trade Hosmer is if he starts the year hot. Well, if he starts the year hot, would they actually trade him? But the thing is, I think they're really trying to trade Hosmer right now because he does not have any. I think he's a cancer to their locker room. I read some articles on that. Like there was a time last year where like nobody was even talking to him, and that's really weird. And he's a guy with club options for the next 4 years, around 13 million. He's definitely going to pick those up if he's playing the way he has. If we're being honest, he probably never deserved his contract. Oh, good, it worked. He probably never deserved his contract, but I think they're really going to try to trade him now because I think the Padres, they're close to the luxury tax too, and I think they want to go after some players in free agency. And if they clear Hosmer's contract and Myers' contract, they can go after some decent players. Again, from Mike, if he doesn't have a surge, they're never getting out of his contract. I think they can still get out of it. There has to be to like a Pirates or who else sucks? Pirates, Diamondbacks, maybe. But it has to be. They have to give up one of their top prospects and like a legit prospect like C.J. Abrams or Robert Hassel or Luis Campusano. From Teflon Breed, who do you think has more potential, Foscue or Duran? Actually, I think Ezekiel Duran has more potential. And for the reason, I'm not really sure. It's just a gut instinct. But also, I think Duran's actually a little bit more athletic than Justin Foscue, so that might help him out. And then also, he played really well in the Arizona Fall League, so he's probably fresh in my mind right now. And what I remember from, like, I know who Foscue is, but the last time I saw him playing, he was struggling at AA. Obviously, he's had a great minor league season, but I think Duran's fresher in my mind, so that's why I say Duran. From Dak Prescott, in your opinion, do you think we finished second or third? Realistically, probably third, but second is definitely doable, if we're being honest. Houston Astros, probably going to be the first team. Oakland Athletics, probably going to be a worst team. So it's going to be a mix-up between Angels, us, and the Mariners. All of these teams are trying to be competitive. All of us are probably going to be about the same. So I think it's going to be a toss-up. It's probably going to come down to who stays the healthiest, if we're being honest? Samuel. The only way they'll get rid of Hosmer is eat the contract. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention that. They'll have to. Actually, no, I don't think so. Well, okay, two things. They could do what the Rangers did last year with Odor and like with Elvis, eat the contract, and then you can get rid of him. Maybe for like a really, really less prospect. That's what the Rangers did with Odor. I was surprised that we even got a prospect, but if I still think there's a way to get rid of him where they don't have to take on the contract, and that's through giving away a prospect. And if you look at teams like the Pirates, like they can I know that those teams don't like to give out money and they're pretty poor, but I mean Hosmer isn't the worst player. He's definitely overpaid. But if you could get him, he'll definitely decline. Like let's say he has like a 2 WAR season. That's not terrible. Not great for what he's being paid. He'll probably decline. But then you get like Robert Hassel or C.J. Abrams. That might be worth doing to take on his contract for 4 years, because they probably won't be competitive until his contract's up. So that might make sense for those teams. That might make sense. Thank you for everybody who just joined. I put the Discord link in the chat. Basically, it's a group chat for this channel just to talk Rangers all season long. You get insights on the videos, on insights on just Rangers stuff in general. Yeah, and if you're a Cowboys fan, we won today, which is good. And make sure to subscribe because I'm super close to 400, and the goal by opening day is to get to 1,000. I know that that's super far-fetched, but that is the goal. And also just thank you to everybody that's watching, because obviously I can't do this without you guys if you guys don't watch. So I really, really appreciate this. And if you have friends and family that like the Rangers, make sure to share it, because then they can get insight on the Rangers as well. From Teflon Breed, what are the projections on Cole Reagan's starter bullpen? Okay. So how old is he? He was drafted 2016. So he'd be 18 then. It's been so. I think he's 22, 23. He pitched really well in Hickory. Got rocked in Double-A. Let's think about this if he's coming out of college. Okay. So obviously, this is the second year in a row we didn't protect him from the Rule 5 draft. So he could get taken from us. And that could be it for Cole Reagans as a Ranger. But I don't think he gets taken. And even if he does, he probably gets sent back to the Rangers. So if he's a normal college guy, gets drafted 21, Cole Reagans. I'd say you start him out as a starter this year, because he still has the potential. First round pick, went to the Futures game this year. Yeah, he's 24. So if he was a college guy, he'd be on like his third year in the organization. But if it doesn't pan out, then you have the bullpen. Start him out at Double-A, and then if that's not working, bullpen is always the last resort. From Dak Prescott, Mariners won 90 games with terrible hitting. Anything can happen. True. I think we have a lot of things going for us this year. Obviously, we have the players like Marcus Semien. That's great. Corey Seager. And IKF could be a really good chess piece. Like if you watch the Cowboys games, Micah Parsons is a chess piece for the Cowboys, like because he could be a linebacker, he can rush the passer. So referencing that to baseball, IKF can just be a platoon for Cole Calhoun, because or he could play an elite third base, but maybe not because maybe you want Josh Jung getting those third base reps. Or if Corey Seager needs a day at the DH, you can have IKF play short. Or if Simeon needs a day at DH, you have IKF play second. So he could be really valuable. Although if a legit trade offer is on the line from any team, the Rangers might have to do it. They might have to do it because we only have 2 years left of control for IKF. And I don't think we re-sign him because, let's be honest, he could start somewhere and he'll want the bag. Even though he can't hit, he'll want a bag. And maybe this new hitting staff can actually unlock something with him. You never know. But I think he could be a chess piece, but we will still have to consider a trade given that he only has 2 years of club control remaining. And like I said, I think he could be a starter for a team in this league. From Samuel, if Rocker does well and prove he can pitch without getting hurt, would it make sense to draft him? I think so, but I think that the thing is, if he can prove that his elbow's healthy, because he has the pedigree. We all thought he was going to go, like a year ago today, we all thought he was going number 1. And then even like a month before the draft, it was like, okay, is it Rocker or is it Leiter? And then as we start getting closer and closer, he had some bad outings and people started jumping in front of him. But the thing about Rocker is that he could fly through the system really, really fast. And you could almost use him as a closer. I mean, I think he could be a starter, but if you need him as a closer, I think that could make sense as well. Obviously, you're not going to draft a starter with 3rd overall pick just to be a closer. But let's say, so this will be in 2022. Say the Rangers needed a bullpen guy or in the playoffs, I think he could do it. But then you have to run the risk of moving them back to a starter, and that might hurt his elbow. But he's definitely, if he stays healthy, pitches well, it's definitely on the board. From Mike, I wouldn't hate a mid-level trade for a guy like Henniger if we miss on Suzuki or other outfielders, free agents. Not too hot on Henniger, especially since he'll be a free agent next year. I mean, it probably wouldn't take too much to trade for him, but then it's like he's gone after the year. Although, if you think about it, you could this could make sense, but it wouldn't build like a really sustained ball club. But if you think about it, he hasn't had a qualifying offer before. Say you trade some lower tier prospects for Henniger, and then if he balls out, you throw the qualifying offer on him, he rejects it, and you get a good pick next year. It'd probably be after the 2nd round. So maybe you're not really getting that great of a guy. It's kind of risky. A lot of things would have to go your way. And it's not like it was in the past where if your qualifying offer got signed by another team, you get a 1st-round pick. With the new collective bargaining agreement, with the old collective bargaining agreement, you get, for the Rangers specific, you get a pick after the 2nd round. Although the new collective bargaining agreement, it could all change and comp picks could change and it could be weird, but I think Suzuki, Schwarber, or Bryant could be safe options. But then you also have guys like Jorge Soler, Jock Peterson, Eddie Rosario. I think we'd probably just get our outfielder in free agency. If not Suzuki, then Schwarber. I agree. Well, I think Schwarber is probably a little higher on my list because I think he's a safer option. But I think the Rangers are more interested in Suzuki. And after that, I don't really have a number 3. Chris Bryant is probably the best player, but after those guys, but I just think he has potential to be a bad contract down the line. From Samuel Sandite, Elijah Green, Jace Young, Brooks Lee, and Jacob Berry are other intriguing options to draft. Yeah, I'll be on. I know Elijah Green, Jace Young. I haven't done too much research into the draft class, but I think catcher could be interesting. I know that I know that there's a lot of like good college catchers in this draft class. I don't think there'll be anything like Adley Rutschman. But if you can get a catcher, and he could fly through the system fast and be on your playoff teams, that could be good. Because I do have worries about Sam Huff. His knees haven't been great the past year and a half. I'm not giving up on Sam Huff. There's still first base, DH, left field, maybe, but the catcher might be an interesting spot, especially if they can hit. Then you just got a really good option with the number 3 overall pick in the draft. All right, guys. I'm about to wrap up this live stream. If you have any more comments, put them down below and I'll answer them. And yeah, I'll call it a night. From Dak Prescott. Suzuki seems like such a Ranger move. Yeah, I think so. Because they have a good scout. Well, they have a big scouting presence over in Asia. So I do think it seems like a Rangers move. But I do think he could be good. High risk, high reward. We'll just, if they were to sign him, I think it all depends on the contract. From Mike, Barry is featured in an article in the DMN third base from Florida, supposedly really legit. Yeah, I need to just do some research on the draft class. I know that there's some really good college catchers. There's like one from Georgia Tech. Obviously, I know Elijah Green. I know Jace Young. I know Kumar Rocker. I know Judd Fabian's going to be in this draft class as well. Outfielder from Florida. He didn't sign with I think it was the Red Sox he didn't sign with, but yeah. I research the draft class a little bit more. And obviously, the people that are in it right now, it could change. It changes so much. From Teflon Breed, I've heard good things about the new hitting coach. Do you think he can make a big difference? Yeah, I really do. So hitting coach is Tim Hires. We hired him from Boston. We don't get the details on how much we paid the hitting coach. I'm pretty sure it was a pretty penny because Boston wanted him back. New York Yankees wanted him, although he decided to come to a team like the Rangers. And I'm pretty sure our bench coach, Donnie Eckert, won like hitting coach of the year. And he's not even our hitting coach. He's our offensive coordinator and hitting coach. So I think these hitting coaches can unlock things from guys like Nate Lowe, IKF, Adolis Garcia, Suzuki, if we were to sign him. Although those guys like Jose Trevino, you kind of know what you're getting from those guys. From Dak Prescott, is Sam Huff catching or playing first base like DH? So he was last year. He got injured in spring training, and then he played minor league games, of course, but none were at catcher. And then he played a little bit in the Arizona Fall League this year. He hurt his knee, and then he was playing catcher. So he's not playing right now, but. So I don't know how they'll use him as we go on, but I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to roll him out at catcher, but slowly. But I do think first base and DH, maybe left field, is best for him in the future. Any more questions, put them down in the comment section down below. I really appreciate if you're liking this video, please give it a like. It really helps out the channel, helps people see my videos and grow this Rangers YouTube. And make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Also share the video with Rangers friends and family. From Mike, thanks for the stream. Have a good week, everyone. Yes, you too. Dak Prescott, who would give the starting catching role should go to? Oh yeah, so I'll probably make this my last question if something pops in. But I talked about this a little bit earlier in the live stream when I was going through a positional basis, and so we know what we're getting from Jose Trevino. He's a really good defensive catcher, and he can help out the starting rotation, get through games, etc., etc. And we know what we're going to get from him offensively. Pretty much nothing. But that's okay. But with Jonah Heim, I think there's legit potential that the new hitting coach can help unlock. He's a big switch hitting catcher, which takes time to develop, and that could Tim Hires, Donnie Eckert might just help him unlock that. There was definitely times last year where he showed really good potential. I think defensively he's on the same level as Jose Trevino, so I think catching role should go to Jonah Heim, especially because he's younger. But like I said, um, nowadays you don't really just have one guy get the majority of the starts. So even if Jonah Heim's the starter, you'll still see a good amount of Jose Trevino. All right, guys. So today's Sunday. So I'll be posting my normal videos Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Thursday, I'll do a live stream at 9 p.m. like I usually do. And I'll have another normal video Friday. And then I'll have another live stream on the weekend. And usually I'll take like one day off on like Saturday or Sunday just to relax. But 6 videos a week. Trying to keep you guys updated on everything Rangers. Thank you all. Make sure to like, subscribe. Thank you all again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.